and surplus production. So dispossession is something like if someone loses something and someone gains that things, kind of something, but I will define later. And surplus production is like exploiting labor power and producing something more than the amount of investment. So these are like very rudimentary definition of this, basic definition. So let me show you some pictures first of all, before going to frame my research questions. Like I have only one research question. So this is the field of the study, like my empirical field. It's Pantopor, Dhaka, and you can see the location of this study area. And then, like go back some 40, 50 years back. Since my project started from like 1947, but this map is coming from 1968, some 50 years back, or 60 years back. So see, the entire area was an agricultural area full of like lakes, zills, agricultural field and everything else, like open spaces, green spaces. You also can see this on map. We can just move in a second, like some 50 years of journey with this picture. So think about this. My field, like research field, is 1 mile long street, is Pantopoti Street, and wide, like 500 meter on both sides. So that's the field. So what is there, I will tell you later. But just you need to know the field. Then we will engage with, I would say, some heavy intellectual stuff. Then you can see the maybe the second largest shopping mall in South Asia, or maybe the third largest in Asia, is 1,000,009 square feet building. And you can see here the activities. That entirely agricultural field transform into this structure. So it's the night time on the stage, and with these glittering examples or like evidence of development, here you can also see this destitution. Is within that area you can find 147 private slums. 147. I'm repeating. So these are the one of the examples of that slum. So now I need to theorize this entire journey of, I would say, 71 years of Bangladesh transformation from agricultural area to urban capitalist area. So my central research question is, how does dispossession contribute to transforming an agricultural society into an urban capitalist society? Not only generating capitalist society, but also reproducing it, continuing the process, expanding the capitalist sector. And there, how dispossession is playing a crucial role, because it marks then so many people, over 200 scholars, they invested their time, researching this issue. I'm also doing this, but in a very different way, and of course, empirically. Marx talked about this 156 years back, but it was, it was not that way of development of this theory. It's just primitive accumulation, the way dispossession driven out. So if you have this research question in your mind, then I can move from here to the next, and you need to know again the time frame 1947 to 2018. It's like 71 years of history of dispossession or urban transformation or capitalist transformation in Bangladesh. So just a brief snapshot of the study area. 1947, it was entirely an agricultural area. Then 1947 to 1990, like appearance of capitalist sectors, I would say industrial capitalism over there, as well as some agricultural activities were there. But after 1990, there was no agricultural activity. It is a big shift from here. And the space, like the Panthapad, is transformed completely into a capitalist sector. And there you can find now two types of capitalist sector at least: industrial capitalism and financial capitalism. So, and the construction of the Panthapad, that was not existed before 1988-89. So this state is a significant, I would say, significant premier urban place in the global south countries. The level of development it shows. So my methodology here and data sources like collected from that state, 77 live states, 50 interviews, a land use survey of 1007 structures, like within this area here, 1007 structures, like this and this, 500. So 1700 structures you can find here, building and other slum structures. Then a short survey of 147 slums. So the huge data. So it took like some 4 years to collect with some 30 plus research assistants. At least for surveying land use, it took more than a month for 30 students from geography department. So whatever. Then I also used many secondary sources, GIS data and archival data. Like I needed to know like some 100 years back of history of that street. So I went to the land office and collected so many maps. So what is the contribution of this research? So having said these all things, like, or keeping the evidence in your mind, so now I am going to like framing the entire analytical framework or argument. So this dissertation actually contributed, at least for now, I have more, but I will be speaking here only for 3 major contributions. What are those? So I say here a theory of land expropriation, how to occupy land from public or from private ownership, like the private and public land, how to occupy that land. It has a lot of discussions from Marx to right now. So I will tell you something maybe different. So then the second contribution is a theory of dispossession. How actually dispossession contributes to converting potential capital. For example, grabbing land or any other, like peasants, they all are potential capitals. And how to convert them into actual capital. So then the third contribution of this study is finding labor control issue. How, like in a factory, how a capitalist or a group of administrative people, how they exploit workers to generate profit. This is like within these 3 contributions, actually this merged into one single contribution. That is what I said, the theory. And you can say here, these 3 theories are being merged into one single theory. What I say, a unified theory of urban transformation or capitalist transformation or capitalist accumulation. Is this like the land accumulation phase on? Then converting those land and peasants, those who are working or those who are peasants on that land, they actually transform into wage workers. This is a huge transformation. And then how those like wage workers can be exploited to generate surplus values. So this is like the entire one linear cycle, but different parts, different phases. That is what, like, a group of peasants were living here, and they were forced to leave, and they actually lost their livelihoods, lost their land, and now they are living on their own land, but they are paying as tenants, like in private slums, and they are selling their labor power. They became wage workers. Is this clear? It is very simple linear transformation from an entirely agricultural area into a premier urban capitalist area. So having or keeping in mind these three major contributions of at least this study, so I am just elaborating on by on. So what do I mean by actually land accumulation, or how state and market, they accumulate land. So this is the major argument that state and capitalist in various forms. So someone can ask me right now, why state? Yeah, state is there, and I would also argue one new argument of this study is state is a class. There's the very new argument that no Marxist or neo-Marxist ever made this argument. That state has become a class, or state has its own class interest. So keep it in mind. So how state and capitalist in various forms, because in this country you need to know more than 62% or at least 70% MPs in the parliament, they are business persons. So like the business and politics is a deadly symbiosis. It's a very different organization of the state or market in this country. So I do not know, you can see it. So I'm showing here that from 47 to right now, we have at least 4 major regimes, political regimes. So under each regime, how state or capitalists, they actually grab land. What were the purposes? Is a very big question. What were the means of accumulation? And how actually they did by grabbing land? So, can you see from the... Okay. I'm sorry, but I can narrate only for you. So, it's like the first one is saying the Pakistani rule from 47 to 1971. Then the second regime is like the dominant party authoritarian regime is 1971 to 75. Then 75 to 90 is saying clientelistic authoritarianism. This is not my categories. I actually borrowed it from a famous economist, Mustaq Khan, Professor Mustaq Khan. He actually, analyzed this Bangladesh political culture or transformation under these 4 regimes, and I borrowed that, and then I narrated the entire journey of land occupation in this country and what does it mean. You can see here the structural factor, second column. The third column, class factor, then the next column is a power factor. So I'm saying that these 3 factors, they reinforce each other. For example, what does it mean, a structural factor? I'm saying the market organization, state organization, how they actually work. The class factor is like the bourgeois people, capitalists, and all other people here. Those who have at least capitalist interest. And the power factor, who can use force. We only knew that a state is the only agency that can use legally illegal force or legal force, whatever. But right now here in Bangladesh, market also can use force legally. We don't know how they got this power. And I will show the evidence, like so many evidence. So these are the three major factors: a structural factor, culture, class factor, and power factor. And if you go through these last one, is a very fascinating thing for people. Actually, those who have read my paper, is the published paper coming from this start. Like when primitive accumulation ended here, when centralization of capital started over there, when primitive accumulation started and ended. So in a single work, I never find this exercise. Like where primitive accumulation started, when primitive accumulation ended, when centralization or capitalist accumulation started. These are all issues. So, and also how this land accumulation actually expanded the capitalist mode of production. Not only created the mode of production, capitalist mode of production, but also expanded. That is the argument here I made. So, and you can see the state actors, how they grab land. Military institutions, Bangladesh Railways, public work, water development bodies, telephone, and they grab land, continuously grabbing land from Dhaka and all other parts of the country. And you know the Boshundara residential area, Purvachal, Protasha project, Pink City, then Jalshiri. These are all public and private projects are running over there. So here is one more evidence or findings from Boshundara city. It grabbed 100 acres of land and government didn't have any idea and they know nothing. And they took it and they sold it, every piece of the land. See the power of a capitalist. Sold out every single plot without caring for approval from the city development authority. So then the state market nexus in Bangladesh, how actually this nexus works. Like you can grab thousands of acres of land without caring anyone. So this is another example. 940 crores land were taken by two politicians. And they are also business persons. So that's the, and in Panthopat I am saying it was like the space for 200 acres and it was entirely transformed from the peasants to the capitalists. And 6,000 people were evicted from that place. So now how to like explain this dispossession or land accumulation? Over there, like more than 60% land was owned by Hindu people, like historically, because of the Zamindari system. And is a Rajeshwarai Chaudhary. At least he owned like more than 55% land in that entire territory from Panthopat to Krishi Khetkamar. I don't know. Krishibari, yeah. So there's the entire place. So then the Muslim peasants, actually more than 95% land was using by Muslim peasants over there. Though the Hindus were the owner. They were all evicted. Not only that, elite persons in the opposition political party, they were evicted. And it's the very continuing process. It's still now in that area, like 129 plots of land are still disputed because of this continuing process. It's still now 30% of land, and most of this land are occupied by illegal slums because the real estate owners, they are not taking that land because legal dispute over there. So now we can see within this development slums exist. So there is another private informal capitalist sector, vibrant informal capitalist sector is there. So here like a lot of evidence, I'm not going with this. So is like from 20 neighborhoods of that area. So I need to finish at least with this first contribution of this study. So then turning to the next contribution, that the role of dispossession. first need to occupy land. Now what I will do by this land? That is the purpose of this chapter. With so many things, with so many actors, I grab land. Now what I will do with that land and with that dispossessed peasants? So that I will do here. I'm saying how to convert that land into capital and peasants into workers, and also the entire space into capitalist means of production. So see here. So I actually developed 4 logics of dispossession here. Is a transformative, exploitative, hegemonic, and redistributive. It is also published paper already. So this transformative, the entire area has transformed into a built environment. Entire non-built environment transformed into a built environment. That means all artificial capitalist environment. So that is what I said, transformative logic of dispossession. Then the exploitative. Here, because of the land, politicians, they became business persons. Lawyers, they became business persons. Judges, they became capitalists. This is a very interesting thing. Because land was available to them. That is what I am saying, exploitative logic of dispossession is here. Like peasants become proletariats, capitalists, and even middle class, creation of new middle class over there. There was only one landlord and some peasants, and now we find so many classes of people. That's all is coming from this. Once land is open, people pouring over there. So then the hegemonic logic, I'm saying here, like in that part, people, they engaged with politics, with culture and all other things, and their life has become commodified. That is what I'm saying, hegemonic logic of dispossession. For example, in slums, most of the women, they are having their children with C-sections. What does it mean? That means their entire life has become part of commodity. So I'm just going shortly. Then the redistributive is, I'm saying, one capitalist is taking other capitalist land. Is the concentration of capital. This is what I'm saying, redistributive logic of dispossession. So Marx left his idea after saying that is primitive accumulation and we have land and we are, and it is ended the role of dispossession. But dispossession's role is continuing as an ongoing primitive accumulation or in other forms. I said logic of dispossession. So without concentration of capital, according to Marx, there is no major development in capitalist system because you need huge money to do something bigger. That is what the redistributive logic, and one industry is taken by another industry. For example, the first industry in Bosundara City Shopping Mall over there, and there was the first Nikon TV factory. And someone over there, they took that factory and evicted entire factory and evicted all workers, and they started new factory. Actually, one real estate business and one food court. So this is called the concentration of capital. One capitalist is taking something from other capitalists. This is what the 4 logics of dispossession for me. And because of this is the entire, like the complete transformation we can see over there. See some examples. Your built up area increased from 56% to 94%. Vegetation and low-lying land decreased 33 to 2.7%. Is a sharp, like almost nearly entirely decrease. So open space decreased 7 to 2%. Water body decreased 2 to 0.9%. So if you ask me how did you calculate this, I use Google images from 1985. So, and also like land use survey. Dispossessed peasant became proletariats. See the evidence here, 56%. Those who were the agriculture, like peasants, they became the workers, 50%. Unemployed 9%, self-employed 3%, and others 3%. These are the like conversion of peasants into various wage working classes. So here you can see some, but maybe you cannot see this from here, but some transformation 1985. So what does it mean? The peasants who were evicted and became wage workers, they entered into the factory. That's the connection from that dispossession to surplus production. Now how to control these workers? Because peasants, they were not the people that someone were there to control those, but is the factory, very new urban space, and now you need to work under so many rules and regulations. So now I'm saying here my argument: market and non-market actors control apparel workers and exploit their labor power at the bottom of the global value chain to create surplus values not only for these farm owners but also for the global capitalists, because he is entirely coming from foreign capital. This industry, because major industrialization started here with foreign capital, and that's the first industry here. In most countries also is R&D industry. So right now I am talking about R&D industry. So how to control these union leaders, even co-workers and non-market actors, various state agencies, politicians, bourgeois, intellectuals, mass media, slum managers, street men, friends and family members. These family members are the part of controlling workers too. So I extended the argument from factory to the family. So now what I did actually here, so just before going to my analytical framework, I'm just giving you some evidence. Like in this country right now, over 2,000 farm owners are running more than 4,000 factories. And it's a 34 billion plus industry. It's a huge contribution. More than 84% foreign currencies are coming from this sector. So I studied workers from 20 factories, and I actually visited slums where workers live and reproduce their life. So I visited 5 factories to interview administrative bodies and all other people. So his total responded 70 for only for this purpose, for RMG industry. So taking with this all evidence and some research questions, my major argument is here that I am offering something, an analytical framework I call is a new regime of labor control I call social despotism. And I need to elaborate what do I mean by this. So he's saying socialist, and this paper is under review for at least 2 times already. So social despotism, a regime time that deploys legal means, illegal coercion, informal power relation and structural violence to control and exploit workers not only inside factory but also outside factory, that reinforce global capitalist force too. So this social despotism is constituted by 2 major operations, I say. Is an instrumental operation and then the structural operation. Like the 2 key analytical terms, concept I developed here to like rationalize the argument or the new regime, how it exists in this country, at least in the RMG industry. I said instrumental operation is a particular configuration of objective violence, physical violence. So what does it mean? So for me, IP organizes by market actors inside factory. This is all about inside factory. This is all about outside factory, structural operation. So it normalizes coercion in the factory in so many ways, like this instrumental operation, and demand workers' forced consent to their own exploitation. And I will show unthinkable level of exploitation that Marx himself even never imagined. I'm going to show you that. So it increases profit rate by effectively exploiting workers. It produces workers
sense of vulnerability inside and outside factory. Like it is always in place. To monitor workers, to punish workers, to socialize workers, to threat workers, to bully workers, whatever the way they can. But you need to keep in mind this industry is the backbone of the economy of this country. So it eliminates any form of collective action within the factory despite workers' radical common sense. Because workers are radical. They are always, sometimes, not always, sometimes in protest mode. Because they are deprived. They are threatened. Their salary is way lower than any other countries in the world. So they are always dissatisfied. So they can organize fight. They can organize social movement. Here is a scholar, Professor Rohan, and my respected teacher here. So he knows about this entire thing, how this social movement is contained in this country by so many actors. And I said, look, market actors and non-market actors. And they have radical sense. But how to dismantle that or end that radical sense, or so that that radical sense cannot make any resistance. So that is the function of instrumental operation, and the function of structural operation is here. I am saying it is not directly by the market actors. It is a system. Structural means something impersonal. It's patriarchy, see over there. It's informality, it's dispossession, it's class relations. These are the factors that actually make workers vulnerable outside factory, and that reinforce workers' vulnerability inside factory too. So it is organized by both market and non-market actors, and you know that it limits workers' collective bargaining power outside factory. For example, organizing any movement, protesting to increase their salary even. And over there, you know, police force, a very different police, specialized police force called industrial police, thugs, landlords, slumlords. These all people are there to monitor over these workers. Particularly slumlords are always keeping these workers in super vigilation. So for me, these two types of operation exist in 4 phases of labor control. I'm going very first. So searching the cheapest labor force and the manufacturing sites is and then the recruiting administrative bodies and workers and organizing work and socializing reordering. Like the entire these 4 phases in total or combinedly control workers at these 4 different phases. So then this is my analytical framework for this social despotism, how this industry actually created and maintained this regime of labor control. So I'm not going to elaborate this all because I already talked with this a bit. So number 1, 4 phases I will elaborate bit. Searching for the what does it mean? It's like, you know, emergence of this industry in England, various places including Manchester. Then it moved throughout the entire world. Now it is with us. So now people are arguing, that is scholars, that is the exploitative relation between the northern capital and southern labor power. And that's the entire game. Buyers' participation, buyers are always active to give the lowest pay to the workers so that they can make more money out of that. And I'm showing you the amount of surplus value. And within this phase, the competition among buyers, why like our local firms, they don't have a strong voice because capital can fly at any moment. This is one. Another one is they are actually making workers or the wages lower. These local firms are directly contributing because they are competing with one another and asking a like company or buyer and offering lowest pay. And one is just saying that, okay, I can give you one shirt with $5. Other local firms is saying, okay, I can go for $4. Other one is saying, I can go for $2. So these local firms are directly involved in lowering the cost. This is one of the major arguments here. And state involvement, at least 8 organizations, 18 state agencies are involved to monitor this industry, or actually allow to begin or create any industry. Like with everything with this industry, at least 18 different institutions. They are always active for the workers actually, not for the local firms. Because local firms have no legal liability. And a worker cannot file any lawsuit against farm owner. So then another one is within this, because this industry belongs or locates in the global value chain. So I identified 3 major types of groups: super dominant groups, buyers, including others; dominant groups, local firms; subordinate groups, workers. So see the graph here. At least 27 different agencies are involved with this industry. Here is the super dominant group, here is the dominant group, here is the subordinate group. And you can see entire world is actually cooperating with this industry. Simple, very simple. So ILO, China, India, like all raw material suppliers and all buyers, they are state agencies, they are legal firms, they are buying houses, whatnot, including Accord and Alliance, maybe you know. So then the local factors, state agencies and all other, like including civil society and scholars, those who support these free market principles. So and then the workers and trade unions. So that's the first stage. The second stage, so who they actually recruit to control these all millions of workers? What kind of people over there? Like in the factory, they always search for this kind of organization. You can see here, major marketing section, then the planning section, then the administrative section, then the production section, and industrial engineering section. Major 5 sections. They deal with global buyers, local buying houses, local firms, and the workers. It's a huge, it is itself a world, a capitalist world. Tiny little capitalist world is a factory itself. So now, for me, second stage phase is recruiting administrative. Those people are actually being employed over there. They have huge, strong personal connection and also political capital. They can save their factory by calling like borderline guards, BGB, or army, or any police force. They have the connections. So this kind of people, they are recruited in the administrative body, and there are so many other like I would say criteria were followed over there. And recruiting workers, age is still now more than 11% workers are underage. So it's a huge source of profit here. The gender, then the locality, the owners, in most cases, they recruit workers from their own locality. It's not a new trend, it's almost like 2 decades old. To manage these labor resistant, they mostly hire workers. For example, a local farm from Unversity, he or she is recruiting workers from Unversity. So this is the way is managing the factory and workers. So if you go with this, there are a lot of things to discuss with this organogram. And then the second, organizing org, then I argued here a balanced division of labor, wage structure, promotion, lunch time. For example, they are offering lunch time at different time, so that the one floor of workers cannot meet with other floor of workers. Prayer times. There was no prayer time like some 2 decades back. Now they are also teaching religious books, including Quran, and so many people. And that is good maybe, but I don't know. If that is the strategy of controlling workers, then they are profiting on that. Power distribution, then the granting leave. There are so many politics involved with this, but maybe I am taking much more time. I will finish with 2 minutes. Outcome of a balanced division of labor. Now see the exploitation. So in a swing factory like compliant factory, 70 workers in one day in one shop floor, they are producing 1400 shirts or 1600 pants. Now how to understand this? So one worker by like per day, he can produce 20 shirts. So generates at least, if one shirt is like $30, generates in a day 20 shirts. If one worker can produce 20 shirts, he or she can produce 51,000 Dhaka in a day. Now in 2 days, on lakh, in 26 days, working days, 13,26,000. Now what? And he was paying or she was paying only 8,000 plus 3,000, 11,000. He was paying 11,000 after producing 13 lakhs of value. So keep it in mind. Then like the overall scenario of this industry, within this like $34 billion industry, 65% are taking global buyers. Only 31%, but it is huge, was absorbed by local firms, and only 4% are remaining for the workers. So you see here, like their salary can make only 25% of living cost or 22%. In my study, I found like some like bigger thing is like 47%. Yeah, so I'm moving just, and I'm going to finish here. So is last one, socializing, rewarding, and like punishing workers is the 3 major discourses of socialization here, like the collective interest. If workers do something wrong, so this industry may end here, so we have a collective interest. At the same time, we have collective vulnerability and the development. So these 3 discourses are there. I can talk later in a Q&A session. So then these all factors are over there to control workers, like socialize and control. And the last one here, one example, this is the last slide, text. So waste cut, lawsuits, fire, and all other things as punishment. So see one thing, in 2019, people like workers, they were on the street to protest and for raising their salaries. Now what they experience, see, and that was the peaceful movement or coexistence on the street. And the factory owners filed 35 lawsuits against 500 workers and fired 10,000 workers from 168 factories. That's the punishment system, and people are always threatened and always feared to lose their job. And now they are being very submissive, and they are doing the work for their saviors. So these are some like pictures, the garment workers, their children. This is my interview, is the recruiting process. People like gathered over there, and the factory people, administrative people, they come and pick some people over there. And it's one major disaster, Rana Plaza collapse, and is the controlling the resistance. Thank you so much for bearing with me.